In the ancient and mountainous kingdom of Elorion, nestled between jagged peaks and mist-covered valleys, there rose a story that would echo through time like the ringing of sword against shield. A tale of bravery, honor, and unexpected greatness. Elorion was a land often caught between beauty and bloodshed. Its position, rich in rivers and mineral wealth, had always made it a tempting target for neighboring warlords and empires. For centuries, the House of Velan, noble descendants of forest guardians and mountain warriors, had ruled the kingdom with wisdom and an unbreakable code of justice. But nothing in their lineage could have prepared them for what would come. A moment when the kingdom's survival would rest not on a seasoned general, but on a boy barely into his teenage years. King Alaric Velan was born under a comet-streaked sky, the last child of King Theodoric and Queen Meliora. From the moment of his birth, the court astrologers whispered of omens and destinies. "This one," they had said, "will rise not through years, but through fire." Alaric grew up as a bright, observant child, often seen perched in the corners of council chambers, absorbing every word of strategy and statecraft. While other boys played games of war with wooden swords, Alaric was studying maps, watching the guards drill, and listening intently to his father's conversations with commanders. Though his tutors praised his intellect, no one imagined that fate would one day demand he put those lessons to immediate and bloody use. When Alaric was only 12, tragedy swept across Elorion like a thunderstorm. King Theodoric was mortally wounded in a surprise skirmish on the northern border, defending a pass against the invading Galdoran forces. The old king died with his sword still gripped in his hand, having bought precious time for his people. The queen, grief-stricken and ill, succumbed to a fever months later. Suddenly, the crown fell on the head of a 13-year-old boy. The kingdom mourned, but even more than mourning, they feared. How could a child rule in such dangerous times? The lords of the court bickered over regency, with many hoping to become the de facto rulers through the young king. Some even whispered of removing him altogether, installing a cousin or distant relative more pliable and adult. But Alaric was no puppet. In his first appearance before the High Council, he spoke with a calmness that chilled the room. "I may be young," he said, "but I carry my father's blood and my mother's will. Elorion will not be ruled by the greedy or the cowardly." The court fell silent. Those who thought to control him began to reconsider. Those who planned treachery began to fear. But politics was only the beginning. Word came swiftly from the east. Lord Malric of Galdor, emboldened by Theodoric's death, had amassed a massive army and was marching toward Elorion's capital. Malric was no mere warlord. He was a tactician of unmatched cruelty, known for breaking enemy spirits before breaking their bones. He had razed villages, slaughtered livestock, and sent the mutilated bodies of scouts back as warnings. The people panicked. Many nobles urged the king to flee south, to hide until a truce could be arranged. But Alaric refused. "I will not run while my people bleed," he said, his voice steely. "If war is upon us, then I will meet it, not as a boy in hiding, but as a king on the battlefield." His decision shocked even his most loyal supporters. General Calavar, the aging war hero who had served under 3 kings, tried to dissuade him. "Your Majesty," he pleaded, "you are brave beyond your years, but war is cruel. One mistake, and the kingdom will fall. Let me lead in your name." But Alaric shook his head. "You will stand beside me, not in front of me. The men must see that I fight with them. Only then will they give their hearts." And so it was that a 13-year-old king rode at the head of an army of 10,000 across the fields of golden wheat, now trampled by the boots of war. In his silver and green armor, forged specially to fit his young frame, he looked like a myth in the making. His horse, a black stallion named Zephyr, moved as if aware of the weight of history on its back. Alaric had spent countless hours training, but even the most brutal lessons could not fully prepare him for the sight of the enemy. An ocean of dark banners and blood-stained weapons stretching across the plains of Andrath. The Battle of Andrath began under a red sun, rising like an omen over the hills. Malric's army outnumbered the Elorians nearly 2-1. His archers held the high ground, and his cavalry were known for flanking maneuvers that had broken larger forces in the past. Alaric stood before his troops, delivering a speech that would later be carved into the marble walls of Elorian's Hall of Kings. "They call us weak because I am young. They think we are broken because we grieve. But today, they will see what Elorian truly is. We are not just a kingdom. We are every blade of grass they trample, every child they made cry, every home they set aflame. Today we rise, not because we are many, but because we are right. Let them come. Let them learn what fire lives in the heart of a child who fights for his home." The army roared, a sound that rolled like thunder through the valley. Then, the horns of war blew. The battle was a storm of chaos, steel clashing, horses screaming, men shouting commands through the din. Alaric stayed in the center, flanked by his royal guard. Yet he refused to stay still. He rode along the lines, shouting orders, rallying the men wherever the pressure was highest. When Malric's cavalry began to encircle their flank, Alaric led a detachment of spearmen himself, charging with a fury that stunned even seasoned warriors. His blade struck true, not with brute strength, but with precision, honed from years of watching the masters and studying their every move. What truly turned the tide, however, was Alaric's strategy. The night before the battle, he had orchestrated a feigned retreat to draw Malric's forces into a choke point near the Weeping Ravine. The Galdoran general, confident in his numbers, had taken the bait. As the battle raged and Malric's forces pushed into the narrow ravine, hidden units of Elorian archers and boulder traps were unleashed from the cliffs above. It was a massacre. Trapped between the cliffs and Elorian infantry, the Galdoran army began to crumble. Alaric seized the moment. "Push! Now!" he cried, his voice hoarse but fierce. The army surged forward, and the enemy line broke like a dam under pressure. Malric himself was pulled from his horse and brought before the young king, bloodied and beaten. Alaric looked down at the man who had tormented his people. "You were right to fear me," he said coldly, "because I fight not for conquest, but for those who cannot fight. That makes me more dangerous than you'll ever be." He spared Malric's life, choosing justice over revenge, a move that would win him the love of his people and the awe of foreign courts. The victory at Andrath was more than just a military success. It was a declaration that Elorian would not bend, even in its darkest hour. It was proof that courage is not measured in years, but in will. Alaric returned to the capital not as a boy king, but as a legend. His armor was dented, his hands still bruised, but his eyes held the fire of a ruler born not in palaces, but on the battlefield. He spent the years that followed rebuilding his kingdom. He reformed the army, built alliances with neighboring lands, and enacted laws that protected the poor and honored the fallen. He ruled with fairness and vision, and though his reign would last decades, it was always the image of the 13-year-old boy on the battlefield that people remembered. Songs were written, statues carved, and children named after him for generations. King Alaric Velan taught the world that greatness does not wait for permission. It seizes the moment, no matter how small the hands that hold the sword. And, in the kingdom of Elorian, whenever the sky darkens and thunder rolls through the hills, the people still whisper that their young king is watching, ready to rise again if ever the land needs him.